Hi guys, just wanted to do an individual training session where I talked about PAR files, because I know I've talked about it in the past, but I just wanted to be very clear what it is. PAR files are actually zip files, and when we want to, we can save off the files to a PAR file and transfer them to another system when we want to. So remember these buttons here in the middle. There are a couple of buttons here called Save and Restore. And this is a way to save the specs of any of the objects we create. So I am going to show you how it's done. So I have table, application, reports, and a business view, all of which I can save off. And just want to go through that process, show you where you can get these spec files and save them off, and then actually restore them and show you the value in this. So I'm going to start with learning to develop a UBE. Now, this is a report that we walked through in the past, and I'm going to go into design real quick just to remind you what the report looks like. And so we put a bunch of stuff in here. We have a subsystem join, and it's a report on address book. And suppose we're going away from working on this for a while, and we don't want to we want to make sure nobody else changes it or anything. And I've actually had that situation before. So I can highlight the object. It doesn't matter whether it's checked out or not checked out, but I can highlight the object and hit save. Now to save it, I have the ability to use a zip file, which is really a PAR file, or no, to use the traditional save restore location. I haven't used the traditional in quite a few years now, so I'm going to go ahead and say yes, and it opens up by default. It opens up the spec folder for the environment I'm in, which is E920 DV920 and the spec folder. And I'm just going to click open. It's not really going to open. It's actually going to save it right there. It's kind of a misnomer on the file, but if we then open up the folder here, I can go and usually under the C drive or the D drive, I can look for it and find something that looks like E920, and then the environment is DV920, and under that is the spec directory. I'm going to highlight that, and because I opened mine up so it shows the most recent files first, it's actually the first file in here, and it's very descriptive. It says this is a PAR file for a UBE. The UBE's name is R550002. And then there's always on every PAR file an _60_99. I'm not sure what that's about, but that's okay. And this file, just to show you, I'm going to right mouse click and copy it. And then I'm going to right mouse click and paste it. And says I needed administrator permission. So I'm going to say okay. Now this is the copy. And I'm going to show you that it indeed is a zip file just by changing the par to ZIP. Again, I need, or it's asking me if I want to change it, and then says I need administrative permission to change it. And there it is, a zip file. And now, because Windows is so up on things, I can now look in at the XMLs, which we've seen in the past. I'm going to open up Manifest here. And Manifest opens with Internet Explorer. And this is an XML file, and all of these greater than, less than are labels and stuff. And this tells me a little bit about my object. So the manifest is just a list of the items that are in there. I'm going to go ahead and close this. And then I can also drop down into the zips, and there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, but we're not going to dig that deep today. So I am going to back to where that par file is. There's the par file. And now if I want to, I can copy this, just do a Control-C or a copy, and then go to my local system and do a paste. And I've copied that par file onto my local system. So I'm not going to do that right here. What I am going to do is I'm going to show you how nice this works. I'm going to, with that par file intact, I am going to go in here into my report, and I'm going to modify it. And I am just going to delete address number here. Yeah, well, no, actually, I'm going to accidentally destroy the entire section there. It's like, oh, how do I get that back? I can't undo it. So, and if I've saved it, oh no, I accidentally saved it too. Then there's no way to recover that if locally is the only place I have that file. However, I can get back all the way back to here, and since I know I have that par file, I can highlight this object, and I can go and do a restore, and it's going to say, do I wish to proceed? And do I want to use this new zip file? I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to come here and look, there is that UBE that I'm wanting to do. Now, suppose I accidentally picked the wrong UBE, like, oh, I picked an app instead and hit open. And it says, oh, there's a general error. So it's smart enough. Instead, it knows what the object name is that I'm trying to restore, and it can read the object name. And if they're not exactly the same, notice that it's reloading it. And if I go in there, I can go in to design, and the design is restored back to the original. Now, the reason I want to make sure you know this is because moving forward, we're going to be creating some objects that we're going to later go in and modify. And we might modify them one way today, and then I'm going to want you to restore the original file, and I want you, and then I'll have you modify it again, doing it a different way. And so we are going to play with that. I want you to get comfortable with creating par files and saving them off. So you can do it to any of these objects that show up in here. In fact, I can do it to the table as well. And oh, look, so it gives me a warning, says, hey, you've already got a copy of this table in here. And is it okay to replace it? Well, in this case it is, but maybe you've done this before where, and well, let me go look at this real quick. And if I look at, I need to refresh this, and there's the table up top, and it's got today's date on it. And so about overwriting it, if you don't want to overwrite it, you have to save it off. And so I will do that. I'm going to open the File Explorer again. And I'll usually keep a directory on all my clients where I have a lot of background pars. Now, there is a problem in that you shouldn't rename the file. And it would be really nice to know a little information about that file. And so what I will do is I will create a new file where the folder name is descriptive for when I did the saving to par files. So I'm going to put 2022. This is May 05, 22 files, and then I'll take that spec file and I will load it into, let's see, where's the, oh, here's the UBE. So I've now saved the files off, and you might be asking, why do I put the date like that? And I'll show you why, is because if I pretend I had done one a month ago, and if I'm looking for the folders, then, and as long as I stay consistent with the names, it'll alphabetically always show the earlier dated ones first. And if I reverse it, it'll show them the newest file created first. So now, one of the neat features of the save object is I'll get into a project that has many objects here. And it's like, I don't want to do this one at a time. And for this project that we worked on in the past, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I'd have to do this 8 times. One of the nice things about it is I can highlight the project and I can save the whole project at once. And when I notice it's doing a whole bunch of different JDEs there. And if I go look at the specs now, I have the project name in here. What happened? Copy. And I'm going to paste. And if you want to know what's in one of those projects that has just you're not sure what's in there based on the name, you can go in here and see, oh, look, inside this zip, I can change the zip file. I can go in here and there's an application. There's 2 applications. There's a business view. There's a table. There's 2 UBEs and 2 UBE versions. So, and I can actually, if I want to, let's pick one like this R5509 column. I'm going to copy this in this directory, and I'm going to go back up to my spec directory, since I know that restore immediately looks here first. Trying to paste it, but it's not giving me a paste thing unless I'm not. I'm going to paste it. And there's my column. And so if I go to this R5509 column and do a restore, I can now find it. Wonder if I could jump into this par file. No, save location was not found. It gave me an error. But if I go to the actual file name and hit open, and it didn't take it. Why not? Probably because nothing's changed, so there was nothing to update. I can go look at that later. That's another topic. But for right now, I want you to practice highlighting these, hitting the save button. You can save it as a zip file, and you can save it in the spec file, or you can go looking through your system and just put it anywhere you want, and then practice restoring it as well after modifying it a little bit. So give that a try. That'll really give you a good understanding of what PAR files are good for. They're good for recovery, but in addition, they're very good for taking and doing development offline if you have access issues. If you use all standard objects to build your custom one, you can then save it as a PAR file and then bring it over into a project on the client and load it in, and just go from there and not waste time with the inability to access the client system. So thank you guys. That should do it for this session.